Sometimes, at the end of my day, I like to grab one of these blank cards here and draw out my own tokens in colorful permanent marker. And I'd like to say that there's a theme here or that I'm designing tokens that I'd play in a deck, but really, the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, I'm just doing something for the sake of doing it. It is, in and of itself, a hobby to me to just draw out whatever comes to mind, whatever my mind fancies at the end of the day. And it can be a lot of fun. It can be very relaxing to just sit here looking at the art as it progresses and saying, hey, this doesn't look that bad. I might end up even keeping this. Now, you know, in the current ecosystem of hobbies, especially when you take social media into account, there are a lot of people who get caught up in the idea that their hobby has to be monetized in some way or commercialized in some way. That if they are going to do something, that something should be done with purpose, that something should be done towards a goal. And I don't really necessarily agree with that outlook. I believe it's important to have hobbies that you do just for the sake of doing them, that you play games just for the sake of playing them and not to review them or to try to be the best at them. I think art should be done for the sake of art, no matter how good or bad you are at it. And make no mistake, I'm not a very good artist. I'm aware of the quality of what I produce. I think a lot of people, if they approach various hobbies with the intent of trying to make something out of them beyond just enjoying the hobby, they'll get burned out, and they'll get burned out really hard. And in today's social media landscape, it gets easy. It's very easy to fall into the trap that a lot of social media influencers do, where you're not successful if you aren't managing to turn your video game hobby or your collection hobby or your model hobby into some sort of business or some sort of social media presence. People end up comparing themselves to these big names, these influencers or whatever have you, who have these five, six, seven figure salaries off of the backs of the hobbies that otherwise normal people would just like to just enjoy. And I think that's a bit of a shame. You know, do I think that it's wrong to monetize or commercialize your hobby? No, obviously I don't think that's wrong. I mean, look behind me. As I've said before, if you can make a business out of what you love, that's good. That's good. In fact, I would go as far as to say that it is a very good thing if you are able to make a living off of something you enjoy, especially if it's something that you've genuinely seriously enjoy. If you are able to make enough money to live your life off of a video game or streaming or various card games, that's a good thing. But I don't think you should approach your hobbies with the intent of turning them into something that you can live off of or something that you can make your business even, or whatever have you. I think that your hobbies should be approached from the mindset of you're doing something to enjoy it. Because if you approach something to do it to make money or to get big on social media or, to blow up, as one would say in the internet space in terms of views and public perception, I think you will get burned out. I think you will be going into it for the wrong reasons, and sooner or later you will regret getting into the things that you might otherwise have enjoyed. Think about think about an overbearing parent who notices that their child is idly interested in soccer, and the kid enjoys kicking the ball and playing with their friends, but the parent decides that, that kid kind of likes soccer, we should sign them up for a soccer team and send them out to coaching and make sure that they're playing in all the games for their local school's team and all that jazz. And the kid quickly comes to resent soccer because, instead of soccer being that thing that they just do with their friends in their free time just for the fun of it, soccer has become something that they're pressured into doing because it's what their parents now want them to do. That same thing can carry over as an adult into the hobbies you enjoy. If you approach a hobby with the intent of becoming successful off of it, it goes from something that you're doing for the sake of doing it, for the fun of it. It goes from something that you can enjoy into something that you can feel very pressured into continuing. And it can cause you to become resentful, spiteful even. And it can cause you to very quickly fall out of love with something you might otherwise have greatly enjoyed. And that's why I really want to stress the importance of having hobbies that you do just by yourself or with a handful of friends. And you don't really need to share it or post it on social media. You don't have to brag about it. Bird watching, stone collecting, creating your own tokens, or creating your own art. It doesn't matter really what it is. Stamp collecting, coin collecting, biking, skateboarding, playing video games, playing retro games, whatever have you. I think it's very important that you have, I've said it before and I'll say it again, there are several different kinds of hobbies people should have. There are creative hobbies, however you choose to express yourself creatively. It's important to have a creative hobby. I think it's important to have a physical hobby. And I think it's important to have a hyper lazy hobby, like watching TV or reading a book or something like that. Something that doesn't require a lot of self-input on your behalf. So I think having at least one of all three different kinds of hobbies is important. And I think it's very important that you have at least one hobby that you do just for the sake of doing it, whatever that hobby is. No matter how good or bad you are at that hobby, doing it for the pure joy of doing it. Not to be the best at it, not to constantly improve at it, because I know people say that you should get into your hobbies and you should try to be better at them. And there's a lot of people, who just get into magic casually, for instance, and they go onto YouTube and there's thousands of videos on how to get better at magic. When necessarily you don't need to get better at magic, just good enough to enjoy yourself. And I know, you want to overcome the hurdles of beginner traps and common mistakes made, but you don't necessarily need to do that. As long as you found a way to have fun and enjoy yourself. You don't need to get better at what you do. You just have to have fun. As long as you don't feel like your time is wasted. Because that's the thing. Feeling like you've wasted your time and effort on a hobby that you might otherwise have enjoyed because you felt pressured into doing it, because you felt pressured into becoming better or monetizing it, commercializing it, whatever have you. If you do that enough, it really ends up, and it makes you really resent trying new things. Really makes you resent putting energy into things or giving new side projects the time of day. There's a lot of people in the trading card space right now who feel like they have to try and get ahead of the game when it comes to the market. And they are constantly freaking out over new releases. They're trying to catch restocks and buy the newest, craziest, hottest products just to try and flip them for a few bucks. Those people, I think, are the same kinds of people who, in a year or two from now, when markets shift and it's time to watch boxes go from above MSRP to below MSRP, those are the people I think who won't be around once things change. And they will change sooner or later. But the people who are looking at the current state of Pokemon, for instance, and are going, I could buy a box of Mega Evolutions or Destined Rivals, or I could just buy a few packs of some older set that people aren't really caring about right now. Or I could just buy some fun singles, or I can just buy weird old blister packs. That's fun. The people who are just doing it to do it and don't feel like they have to 10x their money on every transaction, or they have to pull the best card ever, or they're sunk. The people who are just trying to casually collect all the cool cards they want, those are the people I think who are going to be ahead of the game. Not financially, you know, but emotionally. They're going to be the ones most satisfied with themselves a year from now, 2 years from now, whenever the markets change and it's time for Pokemon to dip down and Yu-Gi-Oh to dip up. I couldn't say that with a straight face. A man can dream, right? A man can dream. Anyway, the whole point of this video is, you know, it's important that when you're doing something that is completely optional for you, that you aren't being forced to do because it's your job or something, when you're doing something, when you're engaging in a hobby, be sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, you know, if at all possible. Don't get into collecting or playing games or whatever just because you feel like you need to do it as a pathway towards whatever your version of success is. Do it for the sake of enjoying it, and you will have a very, very good time. That's all I got for you kids today. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below, all that jazz. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.